switch to every time.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness. All right, you have been disqualified. All right, disqualification.
Welcome to the wrap-up presented by Allstate. I'm Skubie Mageza, joined by Sam, Ravech, and for those that have been watching the Duke versus Notre Dame game, this is coming down to the final seconds. Yeah. Notre Dame playing back-to-back really tight games. We just saw a score in the final second, Sam.
Yeah, we did. We saw exactly what Notre Dame should be. And to your point, we saw Sam Hartman. One of the biggest questions we had was, can he put this team on his back? And he had a third, I think it was a third or fourth down and long.
Fourth and 16,
and he's able to get it with his legs. And then the handoff to Audric Estime. He's got both of the touchdowns tonight for Notre Dame. It wasn't a pretty game. It has not been a pretty game. I think there's 30 seconds left. Duke has all three timeouts, so we'll see how this all finishes up. But those last two plays for Notre Dame was what we wanted to see from this team coming off that loss last week to Ohio State.
Yeah, just like a lot of you at home, we're still watching this game. 31 seconds left. Duke is getting the ball now with Riley Leonard trying to take his team down the field where they will have to score a touchdown. Notre Dame converted for their two-point conversion.
That was big.
That last drive was about as much offense as they could get, and they were bailed out with a pass interference starting in their own territory inside the 20. We will have that highlight up as this game continues. So let's continue the show because there's plenty more to talk about from today, Sam. And what we have been seeing the internet talk about a lot is the Kevin James meme. That's been the thing lately. Have y'all been seeing that? I know you've seen it, so we're going to have a little bit of fun as well.
Let's do it.
Sam, start us off with what you see with the Kevin James meme.
Yeah, so the Kevin James meme, I got to be frank. I had to ask what it meant because I'm not a huge meme guy. But look, this I kind of went with when your childhood sports team wins their 5th basketball national championship, UConn, but then a couple of months later start 0-5 on the football field. Come on, Jim Mora. This was a team that beat a good Liberty team last year. They were a 500 football team, and all of a sudden, after the UConn men's basketball team goes through one of the most dominating runs we've ever seen in March Madness, they just lay an egg on the football field. At the Rent, it was a disappointing loss. I think today they also led 17-7 at the half against Utah State. So just disappointing all in all. But hey, you know, we won our 5th national championship in basketball. So
that's a fan truly in pain. Well, my thing for this meme is when your USC defense and you let Colorado score 41 points, but your quarterback threw for 6 touchdowns. I mean, it's okay at the end of the day. Or how about this? When you're Duke, Riley Leonard, I'm watching it right now, y'all on the show, and you fumble the ball.
Poked out.
With Notre Dame recovering, it's looking like they're going to get this win. The call is under review. I told y'all, we're watching this live with y'all as we go along. But there was some other craziness in college football, and the description I gave for this game is it was drunk. LSU versus Ole Miss. Starting in the 4th, Quishon Judkins was in the zone, 177 yards rushing on the day. He gets in there with that touchdown. Ole Miss cuts the lead to 2. You see the score. It's a lot of points. Next LSU drive, Jaden Daniels finds Brian Thomas Jr.
That's silly.
Did he get his foot in? It seems like he did. Well, Brian Thomas Jr. is having one heck of a year.
He was bobbling. He was bobbling that ball. Now we got stuff thrown on the field.
Yeah,
he was bobbling the ball.
Happy.
Fans not happy about that call.
Yeah, but back to Ole Miss. They drive down, and Jackson Dart sneaks it in for the touchdown. Ole Miss cuts a lead to 2. After an LSU punt, Dart finds Trey Harris. He breaks a tackle, and we're in the end zone. Ole Miss takes a lead with 39 seconds left. LSU, last chance. Daniels scrambles around. Woo! 0 on the clock. Zips it in.
He's got a chance.
Hits his wide receiver in the hands. Ole Miss wins it 55-49. The over-under coming into this game was 67. They blew past that and ended up with 104 points. We saw a total of 1,300 yards of offense. As you see, Jaden Daniels had himself a game. Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, at the end of the day,
everybody had a game today.
Everybody's going to have a game when you think about the yards that they had. Ole Miss with over 700 yards of offense. Sam, Was this great offense or bad defense?
Both. It was both. And it was an exciting, ugly game. I mean, that's the only way I can really put it. I was really impressed with both teams in the way that they were able to go out and confidently sling it. Both quarterbacks are incredibly, incredibly talented, but both bring kind of different facets to the game. You know, both are also dual quarterbacks. With Jackson Dart, he's not afraid to run it. We know what Jaden Daniels can do on the ground as well. I will say this, Scoob. With Ole Miss, the loss last week, it felt like that was like the end of the season. When you saw Lane Kiffin after the loss to Alabama, you saw the players talking about it. They really felt like, okay, this is our chance, right? This is our chance to overcome and finally take down Alabama. They couldn't do it. And it just felt like, how are they going to respond? Because as you well know, Scooby, in the game of college football, you cannot let those losses leak into the next week, because then things start to spiral. So I was really impressed with what Ole Miss was able to do here in this game. I think it's a bright spot moving forward.
Yeah, Ole Miss looked good in this game. You get that many yards up. Yes, you were able to score, but Lane Kiffin said after the game, we just managed to score more points than them. It's not looking great for LSU. And just a note for everybody out in the YouTube chat, I'm watching, and y'all out there talk. You want to know what they're saying about us, Sam? What they say? He said, these clowns will do anything for clicks. Well, you're here listening to the show, and we got great stuff for y'all to click
They're
into.
not wrong. I mean,
we have a great job. We're talking sports, and we want to hear your opinion on the stuff that we're talking about as well, because it's all about trying to involve y'all into this show. Now, the game that's getting them all fired up in the chat is the USC versus Colorado game, and we have that highlight for y'all as well. So let's go over how things went off. And it was an early kickoff for Coach Prime and the Buffaloes
10 a.m.
taking on Caleb Williams and USC. First drive of the game, we call this the Reggie Bush, because Marshawn Lloyd takes us back in time, Sam.
Yeah, he sure does. Was not a great running game for USC today. I think they only rushed for 95 yards, but Lloyd was really a bright spot in this one.
Oh, yeah. 13 carries, 84 yards, and a touchdown. That got them up 7-zip. Caleb, later in the first, doing things that don't make sense.
No.
You know why? Because this throw is money. Finds Taj Washington wide open here, Sam. Oh, my Lord.
Wide open, and again, it's the time back there that Caleb Williams has. There's only one quarterback in FBS that has longer snap-to-pass time than Caleb Williams.
Yeah, and then check out this throw, because he's holding it there for a while, and he zips it in to Dorian Singer. Trojans go up 21-0. Following drive for Colorado, it's time for the Shadur, because the clock says it's dime o'clock. Jimmy Horn Jr. gets in the end zone. He had 7 grabs, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Buffalo's on the board, making it 21-7. Third quarter, USC up 21. Williams was probably playing with his food here, because he's like, YOLO.
Don't play with the food. That's something you learn at a young age, my man.
Yeah, Williams' first interception of the season. That was Cameron Simon Craig, and Williams can't help but laugh this one up. Following drive, 4th and 5. Sanders finds this guy, Sam, who became a star today, Omarion Miller.
Unbelievable. I mean, you talk about a breakout star. This is a freshman coming up from Louisiana, I believe, and this is just a guy making the most out of an opportunity.
They made it a 14-point game there. Now they're driving again. Sanders hits Horn Jr. Buffalo's down 7 with 1 minute and 43 seconds left. But they did take a while to get down there, so it comes down to this onside kick. Trojans recover the kick and kneel it out to win 48-41. Williams 30 for 40, 403 yards, 6 total touchdowns, 1 interception. And Sanders 30 for 45, 371, 5 total touchdowns in this game. But we brought it up at the top of the show. The USC defense, you give up 41 points against a Colorado team that could get barely anything going against Oregon last week. So my question to you is, and to the chat, is USC the top team in the Pac-12? If not, who's ahead of them?
Well, I'd hope that the folks in the chat have been watching all season long, because the answer to this question can only be no, they are not. There are teams in the Pac-12 that are better than USC is. And you could name Washington. You could name an Oregon. I would even go on a limb and say Oregon State with their physicality. We see Riley Leonard, actually, who's on crutches right now. That's not a great sign. But, yeah, but there are a lot of other teams in their own conference right now that I think have a better complementary pieces around them, like the Washingtons, like the Oregons. I would even say Washington State has impressed us with Cam Ward and what he's done out there. So, the answer is no.
Cam Ward is one of the most interesting stories in all college football because he's a guy that comes from an FCS and was able to put up the numbers that he's putting up now. But back to the conversation with USC, their defense, to me, is really what stood out in terms of what they were able to not do, and that's do anything to stop Colorado. Colorado was the worst rushing team in FBS, last, 133rd ranked, and then they come into this game and put up over 190 yards rushing. That was almost their entire total that they had the whole season coming into this game. So for the USC defense, that's a problem going forward. We saw San Jose State be able to score 28 on them, and when I saw the line at 21.5 in my head, I'm like, yo, they can put up points on them. Colorado's an offense that can put up points. However, the USC defense doesn't have as many NFL caliber players that Oregon had on their team. So that is another reason why they were able to create more. And then on top of that, they were able to protect Shedeur Sanders more than we have seen them do all year.
I think it's a little bit tough because USC has a really good defensive front. They are one of the best teams in the country at getting pressure and getting into the backfield, getting sacks, and even getting turnovers. Where USC's defense struggles is in the open field, on the outsides, and that's where Colorado actually does have a lot of weapons, is on the outsides with guys like Horn. Now, we saw Miller get involved in the action, and that's where they make you pay. I think that opened up a lot of lanes, too, for them to run up the middle when they got the ball out of Shedeur's hands quickly today. But USC misses way too many tackles. I mean, I think they missed 15 tackles against Arizona State last weekend.
That was one of the main things with their defense, the lack of being able to wrap up and make tackles. And I'm looking at the chat right now. Someone said Colorado did better than I expected.
I agree.
A lot of people did not expect Colorado to fight the way that they did because they were down 27 points, if I'm not mistaken, at one point. And then you're able to come back and make it a 7-point game. Now, you just heard, Sam, a few moments ago that Riley Leonard was hurt. He was on crutches to end the Duke versus Notre Dame game. We now have that highlight. So let's show y'all what happened because this was a thriller. We're going to start with the first drive of the game. Audric takes a handoff. Goes in for the touchdown. Audric Estime helps Notre Dame get up. Second half, Duke trying to get back up. Jordan Waters, he leads the team in touchdowns for rushing. He gets in there.
Barely.
Try to push him back out.
Barely.
Duke cuts the lead to 6. Fourth quarter now. Riley Leonard, NFL caliber quarterback, finds Jordan Moore. Duke takes a 1-point lead. 51 seconds left. This is the 4th and 16 that we talked about. Sam Hartman, go out there and get it. He was short for a run last week. That was huge, but this week it works. After the spike to stop the clock.
There he goes.
There he is again, that bad man. 30 yards for the touchdown. Notre Dame takes the lead with 31 seconds left. They would win it 21-14. Riley Leonard, as we mentioned, was injured on the last play of the game when Duke got the ball with about 30 seconds left. You see the stats here, Sam? They could not get much going in terms of Notre Dame until that final drive, but a huge win nonetheless for the Fighting Irish because things are not going to get easier for them going forward.
Let me just say this, too, as a reminder. Sam Hartman had thrown a touchdown pass in 35 consecutive games. That was the longest streak in FBS, and that streak comes to an end tonight as he did not have a passing touchdown. But nonetheless, he saved the game for him. I mean, it was on the line with that 4th and 16, and he was able to gut it out. I think it was a 4th and 1 last weekend that he didn't get, and now he gets the 4th and 16. But this was a performance that, Notre Dame needed because, as we have talked about all season long, them playing as an independent, you have the opportunity to go out there and make your own case. You set up the schedule. They play good teams. They got USC coming to town a little bit later on. this is a team that has now created a pathway in which they can make a college football playoff. At least the hopes are open. If they were to lose this game, that's not an option anymore.
It's not going to get easier because next week Notre Dame has Louisville. Louisville is up to a 5-0 start right now, and they just had one of their best defensive performances of the entire season against NC State last night. And then after that, it's USC. I will, however, say for Notre Dame, you're probably going to be able to score more points against that USC defense.
Yeah.
And when I think of the things that we've seen from Notre Dame this season, it's been disappointing from Sam Hartman starting last week, because the first 4 games of the season, they were putting up 40 points per game. It was the first time that Notre Dame has done that consistently since the 1900s. So this was completely new territory, and I had Notre Dame as one of the top 4 teams in the entire country until they ran into Ohio State last week. I'm like, all right, the Ohio State defense has been one of the best in the country, and then this week you go up against Duke and you struggle all the way until the fourth quarter, your final drive. That's about the majority of their yardage that came in this game.
I'm curious, this is a kind of a larger question here. We know that Duke basketball, the neutral college basketball fan, is going to not like Duke, right? I'm curious how many neutral college football fans out there were rooting for Duke in this game. Like, it's just an interesting dichotomy of the sports, because I got to say, it was exciting watching College Game Day in Durham, North Carolina today for the first time ever. And just the spirit around Mike Elko, Riley Leonard is a well-spoken kid. We hope that he's okay. We saw him leaving the game on crutches in the final play. He was pressured, I think, on like 50% of his dropbacks in the first half. I got to give Duke a lot of credit. I got to give Riley Leonard a lot of credit, and this defense a lot of credit. They applied pressure on Sam Hartman all the way to the end, and it was just that 4th and 16 that I think got the best of him.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. It was a great game for Notre Dame. Huge win to get back over there. And I've been taking a look at the chat.
What do we got now?
The show from YouTube. And someone said, how about that helmet catch by Roman Wilson from Michigan?
Yep.
Well, we can't show you that, but we do have great hands plays that are coming on. So now it's time now for the good hands plays presented by Allstate. And we're going to start with UAB's Amari Thomas going X game mode to bring this grab in. It wasn't like Roman Wilson, but he surely caught it on his head. Sheesh. My boy had 8 catches for 99 yards. However, in a loss, 35-21 to Tulane.
That was an impressive. Tulane, a lot of people think they are the best non-Power 5 football team. Lost to Ole Miss early in the season, but that was a really good catch. All right, North Dakota, Elijah Klein here proves that he is bigger and taller than his defender. Clawing in the pass with a one-handed grab. However, South Dakota would end up losing 42-21.
All right, well, that was nice. How about this? Finn Hogan.
Phineas.
Oh, yeah. Finn Hogan makes an insane mid-air grab for Bowling Green. Listen, last week, for those who were with us, we saw Ricky Pearsall do something crazy for Florida and said that might be the best grab of the year.
Yes.
This one might be one of the cleanest grabs of the year because he goes in for 6 and goes through contact in this one. 6 catches, 102 yards, and a touchdown for Finn in a win, 38-27.
How about the Falcons, Bowling Green?
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at the other scores around college football. You see it. Some teams won, some teams didn't. Those were our good hands plays presented by Allstate.
Changing of the guard.
Disrespected. Are they real?
Probably overrated.
Repeat, pressure does matter.
You're not going to the playoffs.
That's what I call noise. Get your mind right. Today, we talk with our pads. The top of your helmet.
What a hit!
Oh, shit. I feel like something crazy about to happen out here. He's going to go downtown. You strike, and you strike them, and you strike. That's how you get respect. So give me something.
Time now for Top 10 presented by the Xfinity 10G Network. And as we know, Coach Prime and Colorado have been attracting quite the celebrities towards their game. So it got us thinking, what are the top 10 celebrity superfans in sports. So let's count y'all down and let's start from 10 to 6. Let's throw that up real quick. And you see it over here,
Wow,
Sam.
that's a good list.
What are your thoughts on the first look at the 6 to 10 list?
Well, the fact that we have Bill Murray at 8, I mean, this is one of the biggest Chicago sports fans in history. And Ken Jeong was just on game day this morning, and he got slotted down to the 7th spot. So the top 5 has to be good.
Ken Jeong needs to get a little bump up there. He was going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on game day
literally
today, and it was really fun to watch, to your point. But now let's check out the top 5. And coming in at number 5, how could we forget October's very own from the 6, Drizzy Drake Rogers for the Toronto Raptors. You see him there courtside at every game, trying to find a way to get himself inserted within the game. And as one artist said, rappers want to be athletes, athletes want to be rappers, and Drake is trying to do both.
Well, the thing with Drake, right, is that there is like a curse.
Yeah.
Right? Every time he puts on a jersey, that team ends up losing. Right? Look, I'm not trying to come at Drake here, but I just know that doesn't have a great history of sports team affiliations.
I don't know why we got this old school Drake graphic going on over here. Y'all see that right there? That's old Drake. There we go. That's old Drake right there. But yeah, Drake is a huge fan and he bets a lot on them. The Drake curse is real, but we had to get him in there on the top 5. At number 4, we got Mark Wahlberg.
Yes.
He is a huge
talk about an
Boston
old
sports
picture.
fan, especially the Pats, man.
Yeah.
Yes, talk about old picture. He has great hair there.
He does.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on this one?
I love Mocky Mock and the Funky Bunch. I think Wahlberg is like the quintessential New England sports fan in the sense that we always have high expectations of our team, and usually they pay off and they win. That's just kind of what we've known. Although I will say Mark has kind of experienced some of the bad years where the Red Sox were not so good. The Patriots were not very good, in the 90s either.
6, man. We won 6 championships, like 10 Super Bowls.
We're spoiled.
We're doing fine over here. Listen, I grew up in the Boston area, and it is great to be from the city of champions because after a certain point, we got tired of watching all those parades because you had plenty of them. At number 3, how about all the random A-list celebrities that have pulled up to the USC Colorado game today? The baby Terrell Owens, Kevin Garnett. We have Paul Pierce.
Woo.
I mean, there were
It was
everywhere.
a who's who. It's a who's who in Boulder, Colorado these days.
Were these people there last year when they were 1-11?
No, they probably hadn't even seen a Colorado football game before this year.
If I was to rate their stardom, it would be on the lowest of all scales because y'all ain't really here.
Yeah.
We call those bandwagoners. You know who's not a bandwagoner? The guy at number 2, Matthew McConaughey, when it comes down to the Longhorns.
Ooh.
This guy is a supporter.
Yes, a supporter and I believe an auxiliary coach on the football team. I know he has a role in some aspect. I know that he teaches a class at the University of Texas as well. Matthew McConaughey bleeds Texas Longhorn sports and specifically football. I mean, he's quintessential Texas.
Yeah, when you think about celebrities and Texas, McConaughey is right there at the top of the list. His team got that dub today against Kansas. A close game early on, but they were able to pull away. And then the last one, I disagree with my producer for this.
Come on, Shelby.
She has a point. Taylor Swift at number 1 for celebrities with sports ties. And her tie is Travis Kelce.
Sure is.
Apparently, allegedly dating, and she's going to be at the game on Sunday, and the interest in that has skyrocketed, my friend.
By the way, the ratings for that game is going to be off the charts with Taylor Swift in the house, and a big game. It is a big game that we're talking about, too. But look, the Taylor Swift fandom and the popularity contest, I got to be honest, I've had enough. I've had it, Scoob.
Let's bring up the full screen of our top 5 so y'all can get another good look at it one more time. Taylor Swift, Matthew McConaughey, Colorado Wahlberg, and Drizzy Drake Rogers. That was Top 10 presented by the Xfinity 10G Network. Okay, full-time fans, time for Overtime brought to you by Modelo. And tonight we're going to be bringing back our Saturday shout-outs. basically making sure we cover some of the things that you missed in college football today, some of the best moments. And we're starting with a monster in the running game. How about Kentucky's Ray Davis? And Ray, I know you had to do him like that. He went crazy in their beatdown, 33-14 over Florida. 26 carries, 280 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. He also picked up a receiving touchdown for 4 total touchdowns on the day. What a performance by this man. And his Wildcats are 5-0 to start the season for what some people like to call a basketball school. Look at him. He's even got a wrap on his knee. Was it deception making him think that he was hurt? Well, the only thing that looks deceiving is that stat line because that is video game-like.
Temple, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. That's the path for Mr. Davis. It's been impressive to watch him go and progress throughout the 3 schools that he's played at. It's been really great to watch him. Now Kentucky has got to be viewed as the front runner in the SEC East to challenge Georgia when it does come to that point. All right, next up for our Saturday shoutouts, we got Jonathon Brooks for Texas, and he dominated the Jayhawks in Texas's 40-14 win, 21 rushes,
Untouched.
218 yards, and 2 tutties. He averaged 10.5 yards per carry, a first down per carry. Watch out for Texas and Jonathon Brooks as they move to 5-0 with the Red River rivalry showdown next week. That's going to be must-watch.
Red River rivalry.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a great matchup between both teams because Oklahoma just put up a 50-burger on Iowa State. Probably some of the most points that they've led up this season. They scored 20, the Cyclones. However, that team has been clicking on all cylinders.
Sure have.
And Texas, I will say that in their game against Kansas, there was a point where it was 4th and 1. It was still a 6-point game. And then Kentucky decided to go for it on that 4th down. It was a turnover. And then that's when the trajectory and the momentum of this game really shifted towards Texas because then they scored, made it 12, got a stop, scored again, and that makes it 19, 20 points. So it just became a lot from that point on.
Are they going to be favored next week? Who's favored in that game?
I would like to see what the number is. I'm quite
just
sure
curious.
who is.
Or
I would say that
don't
Texas
overlook
is favored.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would say Texas is favored just because of what they can do on the interior because the game is really won in the trenches.
Yeah.
And Texas does have the advantage.
Something to
I would
look
say
out for.
3-1, maybe somewhere out there.
Okay.
All right, now let's go on to the best day for the bus because it came for Omarion Miller, the true freshman, had 7 catches, 196 yards, and a touchdown. He didn't record a single catch in the first 4 games of the season, but then just decided to go Super Saiyan 3 in this game against USC. And I'm looking at the chat right now. Some people believe that USC is still the best team in the Pac-12, and Washington defense statistically is worse than USC. But USC just let a kid who has not had a catch at all this season almost have 200 yards receiving against y'all. Washington has 3 NFL wide receivers who average 100 yards per game and a quarterback in Michael Penix Jr. who's playing just about as good as Caleb Williams is. So I give you that to chew on. Chat, YouTube chat. I ain't gonna say your name, but you know who you is.
All right, Scoop, you want to talk about not so great days? My UConn Huskies did not have a great day at the Rent. Haven't had a great season either. Utah State in town here. Jalen Royals just carved up the Huskies at the Rent today. Finished with 7 receptions, 185, and 3 touchdowns. Oh my gosh. Absolutely dominated UConn in the secondary. Found the end zone 3 times, all in the second half, by the way, which is just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh my Lord.
And that sparked a comeback victory for Utah State, 34-33.
Remind me again, what is your favorite team?
UConn.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I guess I can't complain, right? We were just talking about New England sports teams having success and UConn winning 5 national titles in basketball, football. I mean, you can't win them all, you know?
All right. Last but not least, because we're getting really spicy up in the chat about this specific game.
Right.
Caleb Williams, with his 6-touchdown performance, ties his single-game career high of 6 touchdowns, becomes the second USC QB ever to throw for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns in a single game. looking like a video game player out there in their 48-41 win over Colorado. There's one thing for sure, that Caleb Williams is special. Just some of the throws that he makes, like that one right there, still able to follow through while getting hit low. Just being able to make the awkward throws. And as a team, you know that you're always in it when you got a quarterback like Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And our co-host Matt Sims said something that stood out to me about Caleb Williams. People don't realize how thick he is when he's on the field. He's a big dude, and it's starting to show with the way that he's able to take hits and make some of those throws.
You know what's amazing to me about Caleb Williams? We talk about, the Heisman race and whether he'll win it, whether he won't. I don't know if he will, but I do know this, that when you look at the stats, actually, Caleb Williams is playing a little bit better than he played last season. Now, there are other players, like you just mentioned, Scoop, Michael Penix Jr., who's having just an outstanding season, but Caleb Williams is playing just as good, if not better, than he played last season. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way, but this is a quarterback and a team that when he is cooking, the sky's the limit. You got to get some stops, though.
The thing about the Pac-12 and those top teams is they're going to tear each other up as the season comes towards a close.
Yeah.
Those last 3 weeks of the Pac-12, 3-4 weeks are going to be really interesting. But this has been an interesting day, and we appreciate you all for tuning in and hanging out with Sam and I. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Thanks for watching the wrap-up presented by Allstate. Y'all have a good night. Peace.